All right, I do want to welcome you guys to our training because now I know some of you are on the live, some of you are on the Zoom, some of you are on the replay. So I was about to say happy Saturday morning, but it could be Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, based on what part of the world you're in. It could be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, based on what day you might be doing the replay. But otherwise, we are excited that you have joined us. We are going to go through what I call some of the secrets of success. How do you build a long-lasting career in the direct selling industry? Now, some of you, I know you're just trying to get to 3 and be free, and maybe you're just trying to get to 1-star, 2-star, but I want to kind of paint a bigger picture here and kind of, bring in the bigger totality because I'm about to have my 52nd birthday next month. I will now have been in this industry 28 years. It's crazy how the time flies by. And, obviously, kind of how did you get from here to here? I mean, how do you have that kind of a length of career? And some of it's the approach. I mean, some of it's, what is it you're looking for in a company? It's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They're not always asking the right questions, maybe jumping on some fad, jumping on some hot moving thing at the moment, but it's here today, gone tomorrow. And, the biggest waste of time in this industry is pursuing the wrong thing. Also, the biggest waste of time is working with the wrong people. And so you always want to kind of try to identify, am I in the right thing, the right situation? Does it have a long-term vision? Is it something that's going to be here 10, 20, 30 years from now? Or is it something that, it's exciting for a couple of years, but then it's going to go away, which is what most companies do. I can't even begin to tell you. And Gina and I are in our 10th year here at Trevorium. And since we've been here, just in the 10 years we've been here, how many companies have come along that were allegedly the toast of the town? I mean, they were the new hot thing and everybody was jumping on the bandwagon and everybody was getting involved and it was this and it was that and it was great and it was wonderful. And almost not a single one of those companies, without exceptions, even around today. And so sometimes I'm trying to identify, what's real, what's not, what is it you're looking for. And of course, as I go through the list, it can help you as you're talking to prospects. Certain things you might be able to point out or help them understand about our company, our industry, what it is we do. So let me grab my slideshow here and we're going to go through this and have some fun. By the way, it is good to be back. We were gone 25 days. We were over in Europe. Obviously, we were in France and Rome and Madrid and the Canary Islands. Last week, we were actually in Philadelphia. We went to see our daughter flying back from Europe. It takes 5 hours to fly from California to the East Coast, then another 5 hours to fly from the East Coast across the pond to Europe. And so we were coming back. Our daughter lives on the East Coast. Well, it's like, we already got half the flight done. So it was a great pit stop to see her. Had a lot of fun, but it's good to be back home. Good to be back in your normal kind of routine environment. Of course, we are here, but for a moment, we're going to head up to Reno, Nevada. Not next weekend. Next weekend is my daughter's baby shower. The weekend after that, my wife's father happens to run the Reno Air Races. Now, if you've never been to the air races, and a lot of you probably never have or never even heard of it, this is where they race airplanes. So I'm sure you've all been to NASCAR or the Indy 500. You've seen the cars go around the track, right? They're turning left. Well, the same thing here, but with airplanes. And so they got this big track that goes out around the mountains, and they have these pylons, and you have to stay outside the pylon. And they actually have people that go out there and they look up to make sure that no one's, sliding inside the pylon or you're disqualified. So you got to stay outside the pylon. And of course, they're going to race around this, multi-mile track. But Gina and I got to go to the pylons one time and we're out there. And so you're at the pylon and here comes like 5 to 7 planes. They're 50 feet off the ground and they're going 500 miles an hour. And then they're banking left around the pylon. And if you've never been to an air race, it is quite the spectacle. It's pretty incredible. So we're going to go up to the Reno Air Races and we come back. And then we're going to have the big world tour in Cancun, which is now sold out. We're going to have a training there. We're going to be doing the training in English, Spanish, and French. Camila Peraza, our 2-star ambassador, will be heading up the Spanish training. You're going to have people like me, Ryan, Ambassador Deborah Taylor, possibly Danny. I might even have Camilo come speak. Just because a lot of you never got to hear from Camilo. He's unbelievable. But his predominant language is Spanish. But we will have translators there. I know Adriana is going to be there, coming from Spain. So anyway, it's going to be an amazing day there in Cancun with the training in all 3 different languages. Obviously, we just finished up the triple bonuses last week. That was just incredible. Massive surges in business. People rank advancing all over the place. new leaders coming in all over the place. I mean, just from being in Spain and some of the groups that are in our Hispanic group, I mean, they are absolutely on fire. I mean, the growth there is just, I mean, crazy. In fact, I did a Zoom last week. I said, hey, in about 4 weeks, you guys are going to be the fastest growing team in the entire company by far. I mean, they are just absolutely crushing it. So anyway, so we're going to hop into this today. Again, more exciting things coming up for the company. There's some things we did recently as a company. I don't know if everyone fully understands that, but it's in my slideshow. So let me get my slideshow up here and we will start going through these items one by one. Give me 1 second here. See, when you're Daryl Roberts, right, you just kind of click your fingers and your producer loads all this stuff up, right? And let's go to the slideshow. And he just like points it, like just pops up, right? Now, hey, let's play the video. Yeah, play the video. I mean, he doesn't even have his hands on the computer and the video just plays. He's got a producer. I got to get one of those. Anyway, so do want to walk you guys through our show and our training. But the number one thing I want to point out as we get into the training is remind everybody that if you really want to get ahead in life, you have to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I think a lot of you guys know that, but it's kind of a basis of the training that we're going to go through. That, you know, the road of entrepreneurialism has its ups and downs. Most companies in business don't make it. I'll kind of give some of those stats in a moment, but there's no other way to get ahead. You know, at the end of the day, when you look at this cash flow quadrant that was written by Robert Kiyosaki, you know, 95% of the people find themselves on the left-hand side of that quadrant. They either have a job or they own a job, and which means that there's no leverage. If you don't work, there's no money. Okay. So you might own a business, but if you're a dentist and you're not there doing teeth, there's no money. If you're like my buddy, Dr. Paul Leo, and you're not there doing surgeries, there's no money. In fact, that's why Dr. Paul is desperately trying to get our business going, because he's like, this is killing me over here. I mean, he envies Daryl Maria. He envies Camila Peraza. He envies Ambassador Deborah Taylor. He envies Danny Sogolon. I mean, he's a surgeon. And he's like, man, I would do anything to be doing what you guys are doing, because you guys are traveling the world, living the life, having fun, making more money than him. And he's a surgeon. And so sometimes people don't realize that, you know, just because you got doctorate doesn't mean that all life's all grandiose, right? A lot of times people are just broke at a different level. Yeah, he might have a slightly nicer car and slightly nicer neighborhood and, you know, belongs to the country club and doing all the things you think a doctor's supposed to do, which just means he's just as broke as everybody else, living one paycheck to the next, but in a slightly nicer neighborhood and slightly nicer car. And what we want to do is teach people how to really get ahead and understand that there's nothing wrong with a job from the perspective of how do I put food on the table, gas in the tank, how do I make a living, put a roof over my head. But a job is a place that you start. It is not the place you want to finish, right? And so what they're not teaching in school is that ultimately you have to find some kind of a business, some kind of a way where you're going to generate income that is not dependent upon your day-to-day efforts. And so at the end of your life, at some point, we're all going to get light beamed off this planet. You want to be able to say that when I'm gone, I left behind a book of business. I always love that expression from Ambassador Deborah Taylor. I left behind a book of business, just like her husband, Guy, who, went to be with the Lord a little bit over a year ago. When he left, he was a 2-star director. Guess what? That $2,000 a month kept coming in every single month. And on the 1-year anniversary of Guy's, departure to be with the Lord, he actually went from 2-star to 3-star. And he went from $2,000 a month to over $3,000 per month. I mean, the guy got a $12,000 to $18,000 per year raise, and he's not even on planet Earth anymore. He's up with our Heavenly Father. And so when you think about that, I mean, that one story alone is like, wow. I mean, unbelievable. And the money kept coming in. And not only did it keep coming in, it's growing. And that's what they're not teaching in school. Now, I had a young gentleman on the phone yesterday, Pavel, give credit to him. He's like, he's young, he's 24. But just out of the blue, we began a conversation. And because, I figured out that, the true scam in this world is a job. and don't take that the wrong way. Again, a job is a wonderful way to put food on the table. It's a wonderful way to put a roof over your head and take care of kids, but it is a horrible way to get ahead. It's a horrible way to create lifestyle. And most people rather you stay at the job because somebody up the ladder is getting rich. Somebody owns that company. Somebody's the CEO or the vice presidents. they're making a ton of money off the sweat of your brow. And you're in this place where if you're like most people, meaning 95%, you're living paycheck to paycheck, not a whole lot of chance of rank advancement. They're trying to kind of hold you down and keep you doing all the grunt work and all the heavy labor, break your back until you got nothing left to give. And then you're going to try to retire on 40% of what you couldn't make it on to begin with. And so again, we're out there as bastions of free enterprise, as bastions of capitalism. You're giving people one of the true last hopes they have to get ahead, because most people cannot just quit their job because they have to provide, right? So what can I do in the flexible hours of my day, which are small, because I got to go, wake up and go to work and come home and kids and all. So I've only got a couple hours a day at best, right? What can I do with an hour, 2 hours a day that can slowly get me out of the situation where I can buy my life back? And of course, obviously, that brings us to the industry that we're obviously in, the network marketing industry, which is an unbelievable, incredible industry. But there are certain questions you need to ask when you're joining a company. And of course, the number one question is, the enterprise I'm embarking upon going to be around in 20 to 30 years from now? That is the number one question. By the way, is the product a fad? Can the product be replaced by something newer, sexier, better in the future? Meaning maybe it's the hot thing today, but it is not going to be the hot thing tomorrow. I'll never forget, there was a company out there that was going crazy. Even my sister almost signed up into it. I'm like, Kim, what are you thinking? And they had this kind of like the technology thing on the watch. I'm like, oh, you're going to go compete with Apple? You're going to go compete with Google? I mean, it was exciting for a moment. You don't even hear about it anymore, right? And so again, do you have something that's truly solid? Now, by the way, if Apple goes MLM, they are truly a technology company, then you got a shot. But if you got an MLM company trying to be a technology company, that just doesn't work so well, because, do you really have the money to buy all the top engineers that are coming out of Stanford and Harvard? No. Google's got the money. Facebook's got the money. All the big, mega tech companies are buying up all the top talent. Therefore, it's pretty hard to compete with them. And here you are, this little startup company, an MLM, and you're going to go compete with that. So sometimes you have to ask the hard questions and kind of pull back the curtain and say, hey, this might be exciting for a moment, but is it going to last? Is it something that's going to be around long term? Second, can the management handle a black swan event? Because every company gets something at some point. Now, what is a black swan event? Well, we're in the travel business. We just went through a global pandemic. This should be the kryptonite of a travel business. If you don't know what kryptonite is, that's the thing that can even kill Superman, right? This is the kryptonite of the travel business. But our company did not crumble. Instead, we actually grew. We almost doubled in size during a global pandemic. That tells you almost everything you need to know about the strength of the management, the company, the product, the vision. Is this thing going to be around? We are now in our 10th year in business, and we just survived, not only survived, thrived during the one thing that should have taken us out. And so that's when you're like, man, these guys got staying power. This is something that they got teeth. This thing is clearly being built on rock, not on sand. Well, here's the next question. Can management handle the growth or success? So sometimes you can find some, especially with the young people, and no offense to the young people. I was young once too. But if you've ever seen the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, okay, sometimes when you have a lot of success and you're young, if you ever saw the movie, it turned into drugs, alcohol, women. Of course, they were guys in that movie, but it turned into a whole lot of things, meaning the money corrupted them. They might have started off with good intent. They might have started off with some good business moxie, but they couldn't handle the growth. They couldn't handle the success. That's why you hear about the rock and rollers that, they get out there, they're nobody, they're playing, then they make it big, and now they're sex, drugs, and rock and roll and strung out on who knows what. That's happened to countless actors and Hollywood people and songwriters and singers. And by the way, MLM people, can they handle the growth? Even for some of you that are young, as you start having success, even as a distributor, one of the things you got to caution people on is making sure that the money doesn't go to your head, the press doesn't go to your head. Try to keep a good foundation, but you especially don't want that to happen with the leader of the entire organization. Are they mature enough to handle the success? Have they had success before? Have they demonstrated that they can, that they're not going to, go off in left field and sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all that other kind of stuff, right? Well, obviously we have a CEO and founder. It was a finalist for Entrepreneur of the Year. He's a a 7-figure earner. He's been to the top of traditional business, the top of, the network marketing space as a distributor. His company now that is doing incredible things. And obviously you got very solid, mature leadership there. Does the company have good morals and ethics? Because you can find companies that they're out there doing all kinds of great things, making money, but I mean, they're absolutely just tainted inside. And there's a company, and I don't, you almost hesitate to use names, but there was a company recently went to about 700 million in sales. It was incredible. I mean, it was a record setting pace. That was a company called Visalis, by the way. And I happen to know many of the people who were inside that company, made a lot of money. I mean, I got a really, really dear friend, like a brother to me. I think he made around 6 or 7 million there at the company. And I'm like, well, man, what happened? He's like, dude, they were corrupt from the inside out. And the thing was rotten from the inside out. I mean, the ego, the money, the this, the that, there was not that solid foundation of character there. And therefore it just tainted the whole thing and it just fell apart. Again, are you building on rock? Are you building on sand? And anyone that knows, David and Adela Hart, I mean, obviously they got the heart the size of Texas. They truly care about people. David is one of these guys to a point of fault, right? To a point of fault. I mean, I've seen people that have just absolutely screwed the guy over and he would still pay him. I'm like, why are you paying that guy after you did? Well, because by God, I said I was going to do it. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Right. It's like, you're like, what? I mean, nobody else on the planet would do it, but he's one of those people that's built a principle and character. And if he says he's going to do something, then by God, I'm going to do it. And there's not that many people like that around anymore, where they truly mean what they say and they are going to do what they say and they're going to follow through. And that's a rare thing. It can be frustrating at times. I'm coming from a leader on the inside, but it's unbelievably like, wow, a true principle-centered kind of a person. How unbelievably refreshing, right? Do they have that kind of character so they can be here again, 20, 30 years from now? Do they have a succession plan? If you look at our company, Mr. David Hart's obviously our CEO and founder, along with Miss Adela Hart, but they've already got other people running the company. They're already grooming that next generation of leadership, that next generation. Now his whole family's involved. I mean, this is not some hit and run thing. I mean, his kids are believing that their kids are going to be running this business 40 years from now. And he made every single one of them start at the very bottom. He didn't bring them in and just say, hi, you're the vice president. No, you want to work in this company? Start answering phones, learn customer service, learn our product, learn the vendors. You got to start at the very bottom and work your way up. And that's how the solid foundation of anything happens, right? So do they have a succession plan? Question number 2, do you truly understand the impact of question number 1? Because that's the whole ball game. The biggest mistake people make is pursuing the wrong business. If it doesn't last, it doesn't matter. You're absolutely wasting your time. And if you go out and you start looking at some of the stats of, being in business, how many businesses actually survive, how many businesses are going to make it? And the answer is most are not going to make it. Most businesses will never make it past 5 years. They just won't. And here we are in our 10th year. And the truth is that although we're in our 10th year, most people have never heard of us, right? And we're going to be talking about it in a couple of moments as well, that we're still really at the very, very beginning. But I want you to understand that we are the perfect company, because the definition of a perfect company is one that pays you on time, every time, and continues to get better every single year. Again, most businesses don't make it past 5 years. And sometimes it's easy to take for granted what you have. It's easy to start thinking, well, doesn't everybody get paid on time? No. Now, when I gave my talk in France, of course, our group in France, they're really, really young. And I can tell you that, right now, one of our greatest assets is youth. We have a lot of young people, especially overseas. But there's also a downside to being young. You don't know what you don't know. You haven't been around. You don't realize that, no, getting paid every week is not an automatic thing that happens around our industry. You need to get out and talk to some people and hear the horror stories. And then suddenly you begin to realize, wow, I don't want to just take for granted what I have and just assume that happens everywhere, because that is not the case. And if this is your first endeavor, your first venture, you happen to find a rock solid company right out of the gate, congratulations to you. Because there are many people like Daryl and Maria Roberts around this industry 30 plus years can tell you that they went to company after company, built big teams, and then it all crumbled, fell apart, couldn't get paid, greed, stupidity, all kinds of things happen, right? and that this is the first time they've ever had what they call a legacy type of a company where they know they're going to be here the rest of their lives, right? And so again, I mean, we have a very unique situation. Now, what is it that we do as a company? Obviously, we are showing people how to become digital nomads. We are showing people how to become travelpreneurs. Now, this is one of the hottest, fastest growing trends in the entire world. When I was in the Canary Islands, these are the rugged volcanic isles off the northern coast of Africa. In fact, we're 60 miles off the continent of Africa when you're in the Canary Islands. And there was a young man that came over, and him and his wife have built a massive business there, catering to digital nomads, people that want to make money from their laptop, from their mobile phone. We sat and talked for probably an hour and a half. Unbelievable conversation. But again, this is a massive, massive, massive trend. Well, that trend obviously goes hand in hand with the travel industry, right? And so we're showing people how to travel for pennies. We're showing people how they can earn travel credits, travel for free. And we're showing people how they can become a digital nomad, make money 24/7 right off their phone. And just to kind of give you guys a quick example, a reminder, we have brand new people on here every week, brand new people flood into the company. So for some of you, hey, I already know this, Todd, but I'm going to be quick. But I mean, Dubai, I mean, this is a world tour that we have for $129. You're at the Grand Hyatt, waterfront property, 5-star, breakfast included. And when I say breakfast included, the breakfast alone for two people is $100 a day. I mean, it's an unbelievable breakfast, and you're there for $129. How about Phuket, Thailand, a private cottage right on the beach for $1? How about Cabo San Lucas, 7 nights, 8 days? My wife and I were there at a place called Garza Blanca. Now, but 7-8 weeks ago, the room goes for $600 to $1,000 per night. We were there for $0.00. We traded in 1,300 points and went for nothing. Now, obviously, we are showing people how to do the one thing they've always dreamed about doing. And it's ingenious. It's almost unthinkable that no one's ever done this before. Because when you understand that travel's the stuff of passion, it's the stuff of dreams. I mean, go look at anybody's bucket list. I got a slide for that in a couple of seconds. When the bucket list, this is the list that people make about before I die, right? I want to think about those 3 words, before I die. And on that list called the bucket list, most of it's travel. We have the one thing that people have been wanting to do their entire life. And we're the only company out there showing people how to do it for free. Now, a lot of companies are showing people how to book at the travel agent rate. So do we. We have unbelievable rates. We have the best rates in the business. But it's that idea that when I tell 3, my membership is free, and I'm still earning points every single month that I can exchange for vacations like this. There's not one company on the entire planet doing that. And some of you may not realize that the company recently over 20x'd the inventory. So we were on a Zoom with the travel team, and they got all the analytics they can pull up. And so this information, this data here was August 7th, right before I went to Europe on August 9th. And they said at this very moment, before we did the upgrade, meaning that our getaways, we had 2,000 resorts, we had 19,141 weeks available. After the most recent upgrade that we did, there was a couple bugs and things like that happen. I get that. Even Microsoft, Apple, every company. My wife worked for Kohl's department store, $24 billion per year retailer. Their big night is Black Friday, right? The day after Thanksgiving. This is the big moment. And the entire company had their computer system go down. I mean, they can't do cash registers. They got they're just stuck like Chuck. The biggest companies have bugs. The biggest companies have little things that happen. Well, when we did the rollout, there's a couple of bugs, no big deal. They fixed them. But for anyone that kind of lived through that, I mean, hey, understand that is totally normal. But we went from 19,000 weeks to over 432,000 additional weeks on top of the 19. So we are now 450,000 weeks of inventory. We 20x'd the inventory. We just did that not but 4 weeks ago. So remember the definition of a perfect company, a company that pays you on time, every time. This company's done that for 9 years now in its 10th year. And we continuously get better every single year. 2 years ago, we had 15 world tours. This past year, we had 100. Last year we had 2,000 resorts. Now we got 432,000 weeks, right? At one point, we didn't even have points, right? The company continuously gets better all of the time. Nobody on the planet is doing what we are doing. Now, I was on a Zoom probably 3 weeks ago, and the gentleman that I was on the Zoom with, his team was adding 12,000 per week to his team. So he's obviously got a pretty big team. 12,000 people per week were joining his team. And of course, the company, by the way, is having some issues, and some big things are happening. There's a big shakeup and all that type of stuff. And so he's starting to look around. And obviously he's been investigating, spending lots and lots and lots of time. And his exact quote was, he goes, man, I mean, Trevorium, it's you guys are the sleeping giant of the industry right now. You're the company that's poised for the next big, huge breakout, but most people have never heard of it. I mean, you guys are the sleeping giant waiting to happen. Why? Because we're in our 10th year. We have corporate offices in Temecula and now Madrid. We just almost doubled in size during a black swan event, a pandemic, as a travel company. You know, we're paying out more money than any company has ever done on the front side of our compensation program. We're handing out the points and the travel and all that stuff that we just talked about, right? Obviously, travel, again, is something that has mass appeal. It's the single largest industry in the world for a reason, right? The top listed items in anyone's bucket list is travel, travel, travel. This is the stuff of dreams, the stuff of passion. Is it a fad? I don't think so. In fact, we can go back to the days of Christ. Have you ever read the Bible? Have you ever read the story of Jesus being born in Bethlehem? He was born in a manger. They sing songs about this. He was born in a manger. Now, why was he born in a manger? Because remember, there was no room at the inn. The kid couldn't get a hotel room. Okay, I mean, it's a fact. He couldn't get a hotel room. And so, I mean, all the way back 2,000 years ago, people were traveling, people were booking hotel rooms. 2,000 years later, they're doing it now more today than they've ever done before. It's only getting bigger. In fact, travel, by the way, happens to not only be the largest industry in the world, it's not only the number one employer of people in the world, it also happens to be the fastest growing industry in the world. I think it's number two. I was looking up all the stats, and I believe it is the second fastest growing industry in the world, but I didn't put that on here. Just, hey, look, we'll just call it one of the fastest growing industries in the world. So you're not only in the biggest industry, you're also in one of the fastest growing industries. This is an industry that makes up 10% of the global GDP, of all of the money that's being generated in the entire world. 10% of it comes from what we do, tourism and travel, $9 trillion, right? And that makes it 3 times the size of agriculture. Now, some of you may not be familiar with the agriculture industry. I come from Illinois. That's where I was born and raised. We have a family farm in Iowa. And so, I'm from the Midwest, where obviously, if you look at all of those states of the Midwest, that entire middle of the entire United States. Now, we're not alone. There's obviously all kinds of agriculture here in California. This is where the almonds and avocados and all kinds of fruit and oranges and everything else come from. By the way, don't forget that down in Mexico, tons and tons and tons of agriculture. South America, tons of agriculture, massive agriculture coming out of Russia and other places throughout Europe, right? And yet this industry is 3 times the size of the entire agriculture industry, which takes up the size of continents as far as land mass goes. I mean, just think about that for a moment. It's like, it's boggling, right? In fact, at the height of the pandemic, when the pandemic first hit and everything shut down and everyone remember back in April of 2000, March of 2000, everyone okay, we're shutting everything down. Nobody go outside. Nobody knew what this thing was. Obviously, travel plummeted for a moment and it dropped all the way to 4.9 trillion. I mean, it absolutely plummeted. I mean, it fell out of the sky like a 747, but yet it still did 4.9 trillion. What do you think about that number for a moment? The National Football League does 10 billion. Travel, even after a pandemic, the worst day of ever, and it does 4.9 trillion. Compare that to the nutritional industry, which a lot of networking companies are selling. I'm not against nutrition. I'm all for nutrition, but it's chicken feed compared to what it is that we're doing, the size and the magnitude. Is travel going to be around? Yes, they were traveling at the time of Christ. They will be traveling long after you and I are gone. Travel always has been, always will be. In fact, some countries derive 15% of their entire revenue from the travel industry alone. Mexico, 15.5% of their entire gross domestic product comes from travel. Spain, 14.3%. Italy, 13%. Okay, I mean, entire countries are dependent upon this thing called travel. You think it's going away? No, that's how you know, man, we got something that's been around. It's not a fad. Further, what makes our market so incredible is 2 of the biggest companies in the world called Priceline and Expedia. They are among the top 10 internet companies. So if you go look at the guys that are making the big money, you got Amazon, Google, Facebook, right? Alibaba, eBay, Netflix. We all know the names here. They're making billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions. We all know that, right? Well, guess what? On that list of the top 10 in the world are Expedia and Priceline. They take the wholesale price, they jack it up, they sell it to you. They're making billions and billions and billions. You think they're about to change their model? No, they're making billions and billions. They are not changing their model anytime soon. So long as they continue, and pardon the expression, I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, as long as they continue to rip off the public, as long as they continue to charge what they're charging, I'm having a little fun here, as long as they're charging what they're charging, obviously us selling travel at the net rate is going to be something that's always in fashion, not to mention obviously what we're doing with world tours, everything else. Now, in addition to being in the travel space, we happen to be involved in the direct selling space. Now, I'm going to be giving the same presentation in France tomorrow. So rather than use the National Football League, because they don't understand the NFL, the Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys, that's not their thing. Over there, they talk about football, but we call it soccer, but they call it football, right? So football is the stuff of passion in Europe. I mean, they pack the stadiums, 120,000 people. I mean, people lose their minds over football in Europe. And so here are the top teams in all of Europe, and here is their revenue. And of course, obviously, this thing called the direct selling industry that happens to be 21 times the size of all of the revenue that's generated with all of the football teams. Now, I saved the slide I did for the NFL because both their football and our football are pretty close. But just to kind of give you this comparison, the direct selling industry does $200 billion a year in sales. So I found a font that is 1/20th the size. And it's on there. I know it might be hard to read, but if you get close and you put your magnifying glass up there, I got a couple arrows pointing to it. You can see the size of the National Football League at 10 billion. And don't get me wrong, I'm not mocking the NFL. I'm a passionate NFL fan. I subscribe to DirecTV for one reason and one reason only, so that I can buy the NFL package and I can watch my Chicago Bears lose every Sunday. I'm that kind of fan, right? It doesn't matter if they win or lose. I'm a fan. I got my Chicago Bears cup there. I got my Chicago Bears cup there. You can probably see my Chicago Bears thing in the background back there, right? I mean, I am a diehard fan. I'm all in favor of the NFL. Big time business, got the jerseys, right? At 10 billion, it is a massive, massive business. But compared to travel, it's not even a dot. I mean, you see how small the 10 billion is? That's compared to the direct selling industry at 200 billion. You don't even want to compare it to the travel industry at 9 trillion. So we are involved in some of the biggest and fastest growing markets in the world. I mean, you should be out there pounding on your chest with what we got. And I understand that some people are resistant. In fact, a lot of people are resistant. They're just not open. But understand that that's not because of you. That's not because of me. That's not because of our company, travel. That's just human nature. In fact, if you go back to the Bible, in the book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 2, you can read about the Israelites. And they have been in captivity in Babylon for over 70 years. Now, do you think they want to be in captivity? Yay, this is great. We're slaves. No, they didn't want to be in captivity. They didn't want to be slaves. They were praying, Lord, please, 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 we don't want to be here. Please deliver us. Well, you can read in Ezra chapter 1, verse 2. The new king comes along and says, for all of you Jews who no longer want to be slaves, if you would like to go back to Jerusalem and build the temple, you're free to go. Goodbye. You're free to go. Your prayer has been answered. You're free to go. This is an offer that most would construe as too good to be true. This is an offer, my gosh, Todd, everybody's going to do it. But you can read in the Bible that most people did not take the king up on his offer. How could that be possible? Because of human nature. The fear of what's out there is greater for many than the misery of what's in here. And you go out and talk to people, oh my gosh, I hate my job, my boss, oh, he's horrible, I can't pay my bills, it's awful, I just don't know if I can do it another day. Oh my gosh, I wish I could travel and go and travel and have fun around the world. Oh my gosh, you're not gonna believe what I have. No, I don't think so. You're like, what? It's just the way it is. We call it mysteries of the mind, right? This is not for you to figure out. Just understand that that's the way that it is. But if you go out there and share a good idea long enough, it will fall on good people, but it takes time. That's the part that people forget. It takes time. Now, what do I mean by time? I want you to picture that you start your business in 1971. And so you've been around now 16 years, and you've now got 16 people. Okay. You have 16 people after 16 years. How many of you would be sticking around for that? Probably not, right? I mean, probably not. I've not even been here 16 years. I'm only in my 10th. Imagine I only had 16 people in my downline. But the next year, man, my downline doubled, man. I got 33. And then the next year, I got 55. I'm finally a 2-star. Been here 19 years. I'm finally a 2-star. The next year, man, I got 84 people. The next year, I got 116 people. The next year, man, I'm finally a 3-star. We started this thing in 1971. 21 years later, I'm a 3-star. The next year, man, I'm a 4-star. 1994, we started it in 1971. I am finally an ambassador, right? And then it takes all the way to 2001. I'm a 4-star ambassador. I can do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, anytime I want. Now, this timeline that you're looking at, you're thinking, man, Todd, who's going to do that? You know who did that? A company called Starbucks. That's exactly their growth rate. That was their growth rate. Those are their numbers. All I did was put our rank advancement next to their numbers. Now, I kind of screwed up there one bit because it actually took them 16 years to get to 17 stores, not 16 years to get to 16 stores. But again, it took them 16 years to get to 17 stores. You're like, wow. I mean, today they got 55,000 stores. If you would have stuck it out with Starbucks, you'd be a billionaire right now, right? But it takes time. That's the thing that people forget. Some of you heard me tell this story about a family on the East Coast had a movie theater business, and it failed. They opened up a hot dog stand in 1936 in California, and it failed. They converted it to a drive-in barbecue place in the 1940s, and guess what? It failed. They focused on selling hamburgers in 1948. They had their first franchise open in Des Plaines, Illinois in 1955, 19 years after the initial hot dog stand, okay? 21 years later, they had 40 locations, and today you call it McDonald's. 21 years later, it takes time. It takes time for companies to figure out the secret sauce. What's the secret sauce? What's that thing that makes this place tick, right? What's that thing that makes us special, makes us different, makes us, man, I just love that company, what they do. It takes time. Now, as us as a company, it took us 7 years to figure it out. And how do we know we figured it out? Because we just went through a global pandemic and nearly doubled the company in size. Even the pandemic didn't slow us down. That's how you know we got the secret sauce. We don't know what you're putting on the chicken, but they're lining up to get it, right? We have the secret sauce. Now, again, under this idea that it takes time, I want to give you a couple more scenarios here I want you to look at. So a lot of people are familiar with the idea that if you take a penny and you double it every single day, right? Well, over time, that grows to be worth $5 million. It could be 10 million if you go to day 31. And so here's the chart. I mean, day 1, you got 1 penny. Day 2, you got 2 pennies, 4 pennies, 8 pennies, 16 pennies, 32 pennies, right? Well, when you get to day 15, you have $163 in the bank. Now, you're halfway to 5 million, but it doesn't feel like you're halfway to 5 million. That's the trick to life. That's the trick to the business. If you ever read the book, Think and Grow Rich, he opens up the entire book with the guy who quit 3 feet from gold. Most people quit just before they're about to have their breakthrough, right? You get to the very breaking point, and that's where they quit. That is the trick of life. Day 15, you've only got $163. It feels like it's not working, but the truth was you were halfway to 5 million. Now, another famous story. This is a true thing about the bamboo trees of Asia. You have to go out there and water them and fertilize them every single day. Take care of them, nurture them. And 5 years, you can't even see the slightest twig above the ground, but it will grow 90 feet tall in the next 5 weeks after 5 years. It takes 5 years to lay the foundation for the bamboo tree. It takes time for the penny to double every single day. This is Dexter Yeager. He's the GOAT of our industry. That's the greatest of all time. Dexter is #1 in every book. I mean, he was the greatest to ever do it. His lifetime earnings are now well over $500 million. He had mansions and airplanes and all those other kind of things. Dexter was an ordinary guy who worked an ordinary job. In fact, Dexter, when he first heard about the idea of the direct selling industry, he talked many people out of it. He got them to quit the business before he ever joined it. Okay. So it wasn't like he just jumped in when he first saw it. Eventually he saw the light and he's like, man, this is a great idea. And he was out there showing the business twice a night, 6 nights a week. Now he's out there twice a night, 6 nights a week. How many of you can say the same? That's the level of activity that you're doing, right? He's out there twice a night, 6 nights a week. Now, after 2 years of doing the business, he still did not make enough money to quit his job. After 3 years, twice a night, 6 nights a week, his sponsor quit. Why? Tex, this thing isn't working. You've been doing it 3 years. You're not even making enough money to quit your job. I mean, give it up, buddy. It ain't happening. Dexter just kept going and going and going and going. And after 5 years, he's finally making enough money to quit his job. Well, his organization went on to do $2 billion a year in sales. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, most of you, unless you live in LA or San Diego or Chicago or New York, 98% of every town across the world, not the United States, across the world, does not have a company in it that does $2 billion a year in sales. And yet he joined this little thing for a distributor kit for $49, told a few who told a few, grew his team, took 5 years to lay a foundation, began to grow, and his organization does $2 billion a year in sales, bigger than almost any company you have in your town right this very moment, almost as big as any company, period, right? There's only some companies that go to that whole next level of the hundreds of billions of sales. I mean, he's as big as any business you can think of, starting from his own home, starting part-time in the flexible hours of his day with almost no money. And by the way, although Dexter passed away back in 2019, his business continues to generate millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year, every single month for his family. That money continues to come in like a well-pumped oil machine, right? And this is the stuff that a lot of people don't seem to understand or they don't know. Now, to go further, make the point. If you are a person of faith, if you are perhaps a Christian, I'm not here to talk about religion, but the Christianity happens to be the single largest religion in the world. There's 2.5 billion Christians. Now, I want you to think about Jesus and his ministry. He went out and recruited 12 knuckleheads. Now, some of you are like, knuckleheads? You're talking about the apostles, the saints? Not when he got them. Not when he got them. When he recruited them, Matthew was a hothead and cussed, and Peter, a despised tax collector. And I mean, the two brothers arguing over who's the greatest. I mean, he had 12 knuckleheads, okay? Just like you probably got on your team right now. So you got to go out and coach them up. You got to work with them. You got to help them develop their skill set. You got to help them develop their mindset. Well, it took Jesus. The guy could walk on water. That's why I put this picture here. He could walk on water, but it took him 3 years to coach up 12 knuckleheads. Okay, so it takes time. Now, after 3 years of the Lord's ministry, he laid the foundation of what became Christianity. Now, understand, he didn't go global in 3 years. He wasn't in 63 countries in 3 years. He didn't have a Bible in every hotel room in 3 years. No, it took him 3 years just to lay the foundation of what became Christianity. And understand, that boy was good. I mean, he was good. I mean, if it took our Lord 3 years, what makes you think you can do it 90 days, 6 months? Who do you think you are? I mean, again, it takes time. Now, there's a great book you can buy. It's called Outliers, written by Malcolm Gladwell. This is a international best-selling book. Highly recommend you put it on your list. Now, in that book, he discusses what he calls the 10,000-hour rule. And the 10,000-hour rule is this: to become world-class at anything, you have to put in 10,000 hours of practice. Now, if you want to do that in 4.8 years, that is 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Now, most of you, I'm assuming you are not working your business 8 hours a day. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not suggesting you have to do this. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking world-class. I'm talking about people who want to go out and make, 30 million a year. I mean, to become the very, 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 very best, the best of the best. But I'm just trying to point out that it takes time. Now, you can make money even when you're not world-class, right? I mean, we got people that come here, got no idea what they're doing, get 3, they're free, and they start making money. But I'm talking about if you want to really perfect your craft, it takes time. Now, who are some of the other people we can look at where it took time? Mozart. So a lot of people talk about Mozart because he started writing music when he was 6 or 7. And so this is the greatest music prodigy that we all know of. People rave, oh yeah, he came out of the womb playing music, came out of the womb writing music, right? I mean, this is the biggest music prodigy on the entire planet. And again, started writing music when he was 6 or 7. Now, what you probably don't know is that Mozart was doing music for 10 years before he ever did anything we know him for. And he was doing music 20 years before he did the stuff we really know him for. It takes time. Now, I'm not suggesting it take you 20 years. We got people going ambassador around here in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, right? I'm simply pointing out that it takes time to lay a foundation. And for those people that go ambassador, to become executive chairman, it might take a few more years, right? It takes time for that, for that mushroom effect to happen on the backside. How about the Beatles? A lot of you have heard of the Beatles, their music. Well, the Beatles were a rock group playing in New England, or obviously playing over in the United Kingdom. And like a lot of rock groups, they would go to the halls on the weekend, and all these different bands would be there. And so you got just a little bit of time because they had a lot of different bands going to play. And they go out there and play their 2 or 3 best songs, and then you're done. That's it. Well, it was just by dumb luck. They got invited to go play in Hamburg, Germany. Now, in Germany, they didn't have rock clubs. In Germany, they had strip clubs, okay? And the strip clubs were open at 8 p.m. until 4 a.m. So suddenly the Beatles had to play music 8 hours a night, 7 nights a week. How do you think they got all those different sounds? It was under the crucible and the pressure of, man, we got to figure out how to write a whole lot of new music to entertain these people 8 hours a night. The Beatles did more performances before a live audience, before they ever came to America. Okay, let's say this again. So before the Beatles ever came to America, before the Beatles ever became the Beatles, okay, they were nobody. But before they ever came to America, they had already done more live performances before a live audience than most groups will ever do, most rock groups, in their entire lifetime career. That's how the Beatles became the Beatles. 10,000 hours, right? I've had people say, man, Todd, you seem kind of like natural on these Zooms. I've told the story many times how I launched my networking career. I mean, I got in, I was struggling. I mean, I went broke and I couldn't get people to sign up. It takes a while to figure this thing out. I mean, most of you are doing it way faster than me. Anyway, so it took me a while to figure it out. Well, at one point I'm involved in this company and it's starting to click and I'm starting to grow a team. I had a chance to do a testimonial on the call. I was so nervous. I stuttered and stammered. I was horrible. I've hosted our corporate update call as a company for 10 years. I've never had anybody ever come on as a guest that was as bad as I was when I first started. Well, at one point, technology, a conference call, that was a breakthrough technology in 1994, 1995. Prior to 95, if you wanted to have a conference call, they would charge people 30 cents per minute per person. I mean, it would cost you thousands of dollars to do a call. I mean, forget about a Zoom. That's just to be on a conference call where we're all on the conference call together. Well, in 94, 95, they started having services where for $500 a month, $1,000 a month, you get unlimited calls. And suddenly you didn't have to have a hotel meeting to do a meeting. You could do it over the telephone. This is breakthrough stuff. And there were companies that were out there starting to grow doing that. And so I went to the CEO and founder of the company and said, hey, man, there's companies that are doing conference calls and they're growing like crazy because people don't have to go down to the hotel to see the meeting. They can just get on the telephone and hear the presentation. He says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay for the line if you'll do the call. I'm like, I've never done a call. I can't do call. I don't know anything about calls. I mean, and he looked at me, he says, Todd, do you want this thing or not? Do you want this thing or not? And that was probably one of the most important questions I was ever asked in my entire life. Do you want this thing or not? Yes, I do. I'll help you write the script. You can do this. And so I had to do a call twice a night, 7 nights a week from 1995 and probably till the year 2001. And then we had other people doing calls. Not that I ever quit doing calls. I still do calls today. But I mean, I'm doing calls twice a night, 7 nights a week. I've done these things from phone booths. I've done it from on the road. I have blown more calls. I have jacked up more calls, screwed up more calls. I'm not sure how you want to say it. There's another word for it too, which I won't say. I have absolutely screwed up more calls than most people have ever done. I mean, so yeah, you get a little better at these things after you've done them for a while, right? You can get better, right? It takes time. So the Beatles, right? Bobby Fischer, the greatest chess player that ever lived. He beat the Russian. He's the most famous chess player in history. He became a grandmaster, they call it grandmaster chess player, and he did it faster than anyone in history. He did it in 8 years. Takes most people 9 years. It took him 8 years. And he was the prodigy, the greatest to ever do it, the sharpest mind that ever lived. And it still took him 8 years to become the grandmaster champion. I'm not saying it's going to take you 8 years to make money. I'm talking about 8 years to really watch your business maturate and mushroom to whole new levels you can't even begin to comprehend on the back end. Bill Gates, a lot of people don't realize he was programming in high school. He would sneak out of his house in the middle of the night, go down to the University of Washington. It was one of the few places in the entire country at that time that had a mainframe computer that you could get on, and he programmed and programmed and programmed over and over and over again, so that when the opportunity came along a few years later at Harvard, he was already one of the foremost experts in the entire country. That's a part of the story a lot of people don't realize. He didn't just have this idea, hey, let's do computers. He did, but he was already had been training for years and years and years. He'd already spent the 10,000 hours programming long before the opportunity for Microsoft came along. Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players ever, same kind of a story. In fact, one of the great stories about him, he was already a 5-time MVP player for the NBA. He'd already won countless championships in the NBA. He already set every record you could imagine in the NBA. He'd already won a gold medal in the Olympics, and he's now on the next Olympic team. And he calls his trainer and he says, hey, can you come down? I'm working out. And the trainer gets down there at 5:30 a.m. And when the trainer gets there at 5:30, Kobe's shirt is already drenched from all the stuff he's been doing. Well, the trainer starts working with him. They go at it for another 2 hours, right? And he says, hey, we got to be at practice. I'll see you back here at 10 o'clock. So the trainer leaves. When he comes back, he sees the team there and he sees Kobe over there shooting shots. He says, hey, when did you get back? Kobe says, I never left. Kobe did all of that before practice even began. Before practice ever even started, he was doing all of that extra, and he was already one of the best in the world. Now, again, I'm talking about being the very best of the best, but understand it takes time, right? And the problem is that most people quit. That's the number one thing that causes people to not have success. They quit. If you ever want to be somebody special, if you ever want to be somebody remarkable, if you want to be the exception, right? You want to stand out from everybody else and truly be that person, man, they are really something else, man. I mean, man, just don't quit, because everybody quits. I mean, you go down to the gym. You've heard me say this a bunch of times. January 1, everyone's joining the gym, buying a brand new outfit, brand new tennis shoes, brand new water bottle, brand new headband, brand new headphones. I'm really going to go do it. You got in there January the 2nd, the whole parking lot's packed. You're 5 deep on a machine. Can't get anywhere close, right? Everyone's down there working out. Go down there February 2nd. Hey, where'd everybody go? What happened? They quit. Just be that person that just keeps showing up every single day. You're the one that just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. You just won't quit. It's more like the Rocky story. It's more heart than talent. This is not about talent. It's not about education. It's not about connections. It's not about speaking well. It's about continuously doing it and 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 doing it some more. That's what this is about. And if you're that person, you just won't quit. You're the Rocky Balboa of Trevorium. It doesn't matter how many times they knock you down, you just keep getting up to the place that the guy knocking you down, Apollo Creed. He's so tired of knocking you down, he's ready to fall down. He can't freaking believe it. He's exhausted from knocking you down, and you just keep standing up. If you just don't quit, that is the secret. But people quit. They quit everywhere. You can go to the Bible, right? And if you go to John chapter 6, verse 66, this is the dreaded 666. I mean, there's clues even in the Bible. This is 666 in the Bible, John chapter 6, verse 66. At this point, many of the disciples turned away and deserted him. They quit. Jesus looked at the 12 and says, are you going to quit me too? Are you going to quit me too? They quit Jesus. Don't be surprised when they quit you. Don't be surprised when people don't follow through. Hell, they even quit Jesus, right? People quit. Just don't let that be you. You can decide, I'm not going to be that person. I've learned the lessons of history. I've learned the lessons of the Bible. I'm going to be the one that just keeps going and going and going, because I know that if I keep going and going and going on that other side, that is where the promised land is. It's just on the other side of my breaking point. If I just push past, if you want to be a super travel hero, you want to be a super income hero. Do you want a superpower? The superpower in this business is simply don't quit. That is the superpower, right? Now, by the way, it's here in French. It says, by the way, stay the course, right? Be here 5 years from now. Don't give up. Stay the course. Be here 5 years from now. I built the slide for the French team. Anyway, that's what that says, though. That's the superpower. Stay the course, okay? Don't give up. Be here 5 years from now. In the Bible, I have fought the good fight, right? I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. I mean, again, the Bible all over the place. So let us not get tired of doing what is good, because just at the right time, we will reap a harvest if we don't give up. Galatians 6:9. I could tell you that for Gina and I, back when the company decided to focus on travel, our whole team quit. Everybody but Greg Warford. They all quit. Every one of them quit. We should have quit. That was millions of dollars ago. Just don't quit. Just keep going and going and going. If you want to be a legacy builder, and this is a point I want to make big time, because understand that legacy builders, the longer you are at a company, the greater the likelihood you're going to attract people who are legacy builders. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's obviously Daryl Maria Roberts. Here's Ambassador Deborah Taylor. They are traveling the world. They're developing themselves. They're growing. They're earning six figures. And of course, the case of Daryl Maria, multiple six figures. They are living life on their terms. They've been here 5+ years. People look at them and say, wow, I want to be like Daryl and Maria. I want to be living in resorts and visiting home. I want to be like Ambassador Deborah Taylor, who just left a foundation because of Guy, that book of business for her kids. And she just bought the brand new BMW and she's traveling the world and her group's getting bigger. Man, I want to be like Ambassador Deborah Taylor. Man, how long you been here? Man, I've been doing it 5 years. Man, I'm going to commit to this thing. If it takes me 5 years, I want to be like you. See, the longer you're here, the more you're going to attract the mindset that I'm willing to dig in and do what it takes for a length of time to become successful. Now, it's not that you can't be successful when you're here 30 days. We all have a start, right? You go out and talk to anybody and everybody. But again, you're going to have a greater likelihood of attracting the right mindset the longer that you're at a place. But guess what a lot of people do? They come over here, they try, and they go to this company, they go to that company, then they go to that company. They're all over the place, right? And that is not what attracts legacy builders. In fact, I can tell you right now that we have a lady. She had success in a company, and then she went to another company and had success, but she keeps leaving the company. She has success, then she leaves. She has success, then she leaves. Now, if I were a prospect, which clearly I'm not, but if I were a prospect, would I ever join her? And the answer is no. It doesn't matter how talented she is. Why? Because she's not reliable. She's not dependable. I cannot count on her. I can count on her to leave and then try to take my team with her. I would never join somebody like that because I'm putting my entire business at risk. Because I'm going to go build this big thing only to have the upline that I'm edifying leave in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, right? First hot day, they don't know, whatever the reason is. I'm looking for someone, man, I know I can count on them. People, when they look at Deborah Taylor, they know she's going to be around. She's been through unbelievable things and she's still here. She ain't going anywhere. I know I can count on Deborah Taylor. That's who I'm going to join. I know I can count on Daryl and Maria Roberts. They ain't going anywhere. They've been here 5 years, building this big, huge business, traveling the world. I can count on them. I know they're going to be there. I can count on Danny. I can count on Camila Peraza. I can count on people who plant a flag. That's who I'm going to go join. People I know that like to make big money and build, that's who they're going to go join. You need to become that kind of person. How? By sticking and staying, right? By becoming somebody who is dependable. There's the definition of dependable, right out of the dictionary, right? Capable of being trusted or depended on. Reliable, a dependable source of income, a dependable assistant. The synonyms: reliable, trustworthy, faithful, steadfast, unwavering, stable, responsible, trusty, constant, unswerving, honorable, true, loyal, unfailing, steady, and sure. Is that you? Maybe it wasn't you in past, but make that you today. You can make that physical decision, that physical choice today. By the way, I think my screen stopped. Hold on. I just saw screen sharing paused. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Let's go back to the screen here. All right. So you can make that decision today to become that kind of a person. And when you become that kind of a person, you begin to attract those kinds of people. Now, the ambassador game plan. It's a simple game plan. You got to read and write your goals daily. Okay. You got to read 10 pages of a good book every day, 15 minutes of positive audio every day. You got to prospect 3 to 5 people every day. Notice the word every day. Didn't say every other day, not when you feel like it, not on leap year, every day. It's building that consistent habit every day. Don't even think about it. You just do it. You just do it and do it and do it. So you're out there prospecting 3 to 5 every day. You're doing the personal development stuff for your mind every day. That's going to lead to you sponsoring 3 to 5 people every month. Now, but Todd, I've been here 5 months trying to get 3. You're going to get better. You're going to get better. The penny that doubles every day, you're going to get better, right? Eventually, you keep doing the right things. Even when the wrong things are happening, you're going to start to get a better result. Understand that consistent action does not produce consistent results, but it always produces success. I'll say that again. Consistent action, consistent activity does not always produce consistent results, but it always produces success. If you know anything about hitting, my daughter was set the home run record at her college, right? Sometimes you're hot and sometimes you're not, okay? But if you keep doing it and doing it and doing it more times than not, you're going to have success. And that's the whole thing. You have to push past the down, the peaks and the valleys of life. You're gonna have moments it's great. You're gonna have moments it sucks. You have to embrace the suck and push past. We all have a beginning. We all have a day one. Do you want this thing? Do you want this thing? 3 to 5 every day, 10, read the books every day, 10 pages, 15 minutes of audio, and do that consistently over time. That is the recipe. This is a personal development industry with a compensation plan attached. Romans 12:2, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. It's all about appearing the mindset. And so when you're out there looking for partners, are you looking for partners that are honest, patient, focused, caring, punctual, grateful, confident, consistent, sincere, good humor, decisive, team players, motivated, encouragers, people with wisdom, optimistic, strong faith, good appearance, personable, good, directed, committed, responsible, health conscious, honorable, cooperative, good students, intelligent, disciplined, tough, mentally, physically, spiritually, obedient, enthusiastic, flexible, balanced, people that are good listeners, competent, self-starters, people with a servant's heart, positive mental attitude, good leader. Do I need to read the entire list? Are you looking for these kinds of people? You have to become that kind of person to attract that kind of person. Now, here's what's interesting. Every one of these things on this list is a skill. Nobody was born honest. No, they were just born that way. I mean, it's in their genetics. They're really tall, they're really fast, and they're really honest. No, that is not part of your genetics. Being tall is part of your genetics. Being fast might be part of your genetics, but being honest is not a genetic disposition. That's something that you can learn to do. Being focused, you can learn to do. Being sincere, you can learn to do. Being decisive, these are skills that you can develop over time. And as you develop these skills, guess what? You attract more and more people who have these skills. You attract amazing people to your business, which is going to build your business all over the world. This is a personal development industry with a compensation plan attached. By the way, every one of these skills happen to be biblical principles. Now, just a little side note there for you. So some people say, well, come on, Todd, if it were that easy, everybody would do it. And I want you to understand that that statement is unequivocally not true. It is not about ease. It is not easier to eat a hamburger than a salad. It is not easier to eat a candy bar than an apple. It is about choice. In the Bible, the book of Deuteronomy, it says, now listen, today I'm giving you a choice between life and death, between blessings and curses, between prosperity and disaster. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Choose. And you make that choice every single day. You either eat the apple today or you don't. You either floss your teeth today or you don't. You either read 10 pages of a good book today or you don't. You either listen to 15 minutes of positive audio today or you don't. You either prospect 3 to 5 people today or you don't. You either tell your children, your loved one, you really love them today or you don't. You either write your goals and read them today or you don't. That's all it is. You either did or you didn't. It's a simple choice. Any one of you could do it. You just have to decide, man, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it the next day. And if you do, I promise you, you will be one of those people that one day, man, you're so lucky. Man, how did you become whatever store ambassador you're going to be? Because sky is the limit. How did you become one of those people? How did this thing just, take off and explode and do all these wonderful, incredible things? How did all that happen for you, right? How did that come to be? And you just tell them the whole story. That I had to decide, right? That's something you're going to hear, General Marie talk about. I had to decide to become the person that was worthy of those things by doing the correct daily habits. And so with that, I know we're about 7 minutes after the top of the hour. I hope you guys got some value from our presentation today. Again, you got to find the right company. You got to find the right leader. You got to find the right, product. I think clearly we've demonstrated that we've got the greatest product in the world. The one thing everybody wants to do. We're doing something no one's ever done in our 10th year, paid out millions of commissions all around the globe. Amazing CEO and founder. We're doing things in compensation that have never been done. All you have to do is go do your part and give it time. Be that person that's here a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now. Again, amazing things can happen for you. Appreciate every single one of you hopping on today. I know we have somebody's on here as a co-host. I don't know if that's Daryl, if that's Danny, there it is. Mr. Danny Bling Bling, my brother from another mother. This is a guy I've gotten to travel the world with, somebody that, again, one of the blessings of this industry is just the people you get to meet. Getting to meet Danny's been an unbelievable blessing in my life, getting to travel the world with him. Obviously, just an amazing, incredible guy. I can't even imagine my life without him in it. I can't imagine my driveway without his Mercedes in it. His Mercedes is in my driveway, and it has been for 9 months. I came home from my trip in Europe. I go, man, that thing's dusty. I get somebody over here to clean that thing up. Anyway, but hey, Danny, obviously your business is blowing up all over the world. You're doing incredible things. You had that amazing event in France, and I don't know how many people you had there, but I mean, it was north of 500, south of 800, somewhere in that range. I mean, the place was packed. It was incredible. But some of your thoughts here as we close out our training.
But I don't want to say more than everything you just said. I don't know if this thing was recorded, but oh my God, brother, you need to redo it again. Can anyone on the Zoom put the word redo? Because I think he needs to redo this call if it was not recorded. You need to redo this one. And it should be like when people join us, right? Redo, there you go. When people join Travoyum, that should be the first training video they watch. Hands down. This should be the first video that they watch so that we know we got the right people that join us, so that they stick and stay and they understand what we have. But redo, there has to be redone. I know, Todd, you're very, very extremely busy helping everyone, but you got to find time in the 25 hours that you work per day, but redo this 1 hour. This 1 hour Zoom.
Well, we're gonna do the Zoom. We're all in France, by the way.
Yes. Oh, I'm pressing that record button, that's for sure. But wow, it was, you said so many things, and it is so true. And if people would just, do the work, be different than everybody else, be extraordinary, which is not quitting. We have everything. I told so many people this past week that everything else out there is so much more difficult and complicated, right? Be able to show, like, when you sell those, I know you were in those companies, you would sell those special ingredients and you have to explain people what they do to your body. I mean, how do you explain the beach and the ocean? You don't have to. We have everyone, like out there, the people look at them making money. What's the first thing they want to do with money? They want to travel. So we have the best two pound for pound industry. We have travel and we have money. Everything else is just complicated. Everything else is just complicated. And the last thing I'll just add, I did it on the live yesterday, and I told people I finally found the reason. I finally found the cure, the problem when people actually quit, right? It's because in their mind, like nobody tells them to quit, right? When we prospect, when you talk to someone, when I talk to someone, they never tell me stuff like, Danny, you're not gonna make it. They never say, Danny, you need to get out while you can. The house is burning down. They never say that. What they say is exactly why they shouldn't join us, right? Because it's not for them. They'll tell you, oh, it's one of those things. It's one of those triangle thing. Oh, you know what? This and that. But basically, their mind is already rejecting the idea of being financially free. They're telling us the reason why they should join us. So don't make it complex. Don't make it harder. Don't try to convert them. It's too late for them. They're already out. They're already out, right? So people cancel themselves out. So for us, the only reason why we quit was some people quit because we tell ourselves we can't make it, right? We tell ourselves because nobody else is telling us. If nobody else tells us that we can't make it, who's telling us to quit? Ourselves. So we have like the positive side and we have the negative side, but the negative ends up winning. Did you prospect today? Did you read a book today? You see, you didn't even read a book today. You didn't even read 3 to 10 pages like Todd tell you to do. You didn't even prospect to 3 to 5 people. You weren't even connected on the Zoom. You weren't even on the corporate call. You didn't even do a travel. You didn't even book a hotel. You didn't even do the incentive trip. Oh my God, you didn't even use your points for a world tour. It's not for you. So when you have that negative every day talking to yourself, telling you to quit, and you end up quitting because you let your own mind tell you to quit versus listening to the other side that said you can make it. It takes 3 to 5 years. You have to read 10 pages. You already booked the travel. You already shared it online. You already did a world tour. You were on the call today. Keep at it. Don't quit. Keep at it. Don't quit. So people are quitting because they quit on themselves. Nobody else. It's not me. It's not you, Todd. It's not David. It's not the prospect. It's not your neighbor. It's not your mother. Nobody told you to quit. You quit on your damn self. So that I figured that out. So from now, I'm telling everybody, when you're quitting, just know that it wasn't me. It was you. You called it on your own. But if you don't quit, like you said today, if you don't quit, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. I mean, I want to make that's the gig. A lot of money. Can we catch him, Todd? Can we catch him? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I looked at that slide. I'm like, that's a lot of money. I want to have a foundation. I want to have a foundation that my kids from generations, all the Segrenals that are going to come after me, I want them to keep benefiting for all that money.
Dexter's definitely done that because he's still making that money. He's been gone 3 years and his company brings in millions and millions and millions and millions and millions every year.
And that's powerful. That tells you if you join a good company like the one we have, right, they will keep on paying even when you pass away. That's unbelievable. You can't do that with a job. So why keep putting all that effort at a job when you can't inherit your father's income, your mother's income? Think about it. They made the mistake. It's not their fault. Don't go call your mother, but they made the mistake. But now it's up to you not to make that mistake.
Absolutely. By the way, Danny, one thing I want you to cover real quick. I got a lady in the business right now. Her name's Angel Lewis, just on fire. And she made a comment to me 2 days. She goes, man, that analogy that Danny did last week with, you're the hostess, you're not the restaurant owner. I mean, she absolutely loved that analogy, right? And so I wonder if you just, for everyone, because I know we got a big group here today, get new people every week. I just share that with everyone that will sign off here.
Yes, yeah. So our business is simple, right? And I looked at it, actually it came from you and Daryl, the Peak Pass Plug. I'm like, how can I apply this Peak Pass Plug and how can I explain for people to understand the best way? So I started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what do people know? What is it one thing that everybody does? Well, everybody goes out to eat, right? So everybody on the chat right now, I don't see we got 33 people there. Tell me your favorite restaurant. Name me your favorite restaurant, the one that you go to and you sit down and you have a good meal. So I thought, I'm like, okay, how can I apply the Peak Pass Plug in a way that people can see it? Well, when you go to a restaurant, The first person, actually, I went yesterday, right? I went to see one of my good friends that just signed up for me. He's been my friend for 30 years, and he finally said yes, right? He finally joined. So I got my first friend. So now he messed up my whole story. By the side note, he just messed up my whole story. I told him that yesterday because I told everybody I got no friends in the business, and now he joined. So now I got to script that, scrap all that, and have a new story. Now I'm gonna say I have one friend in the company. so, so we go to a restaurant, and as we walked in, we went to Moxie's, called Moxie's. We walked in, and the hostess, she was there, and I looked at her. By the way, I told her, you should smile more, because she wasn't smiling. I don't know why she wasn't smiling. Maybe she doesn't like her pay, but she wasn't smiling. But her job is to simply smile, ask how many in the party, we were two, and bring me to my table, okay? And that's the peak. That's the peak right there. Her job is just to do that. So your job is to do the peak. You smile, right? You ask people how many in the party. Basically, ask people, hey, do you want to become a travel ambassador? Would you like to make money online? That's the peak. That's the hostess. Smile. Just ask people, do you want to become a travel ambassador? And then you bring people to the table. Well, when you bring it to the table and you give the menu, well, that's the pass. Right? That's the video. Todd makes videos. Daryl keeps making a new video. Him and Maria, I mean, they become producers right now by now. I mean, they release videos after videos after videos, but that's the class. They broke it down to a 2-minute video. 2-minute video. That's the menu. We have silver, we have titanium, we have platinum, right? We have world tours, we have getaways. That's the menu. But she doesn't explain to you nothing. You need to explain nothing. You did your job. You were the hostess. You smile, you brought people to the table, you give them the video, and your job is done. Who comes after that? It's the plug. The plug comes. That's Daryl, that's Todd, that's me, right? Pastor Deborah Taylor, that's us. We're the plug. We come in, we are the servers. We come in and say, hey, you saw the menu, right? Yeah. So you're hungry? What do you want to eat? Tell me, you have any questions? You have any questions about the silver, the titanium, the platinum? What do you want to know about this? Eh? You want to know about the world tours? You want to know about the getaways? You want to know how many times I traveled the world? You want to know about the savings and how you could basically inherit this business to give it to your kids and all that stuff? I am the plug. I will answer all your questions. But you guys mix it all up. You guys want to be the peak, the pass, and the plug. Well, I know a little bit about the business. I know a little bit about the menu. Let me introduce. Danny, can I just say a little bit? Just a little bit. I want to tell them about my world tour. No, stop it. Stop. You're the hostess. Smile. Hi. How many in your party? Bring them to the table, right? And that's it. That's the peak. And if you become good at doing that, eventually you'll become the plug, right? There's a process. Eventually you'll be the plug, but you're not the plug today. You just joined today. So today you're the hostess. Today you smile. Today you went to, let me see in the chat, where we got the Roadhouse. Todd, can you tell me all the restaurants they name in the chat? We got the Roadhouse.
Hold on real quick. Let me scroll down here, grab the chat. It's funny when you talk about the silver, the titanium, the platinum. I'm thinking like, man, do you want the ribeye or do you want a side salad? We got the platinum, that's the ribeye, but we also got the silver. That's a side salad.
Exactly. We got the salad. Okay. We got the ribeye. We got the filet mignon. You know, you want some mashed potatoes with that. And the mashed potatoes, I think that's a travel pack. That's a travel pack. The mashed potatoes with the gravy, that's a $9.99.
Yeah, so we got Outback Steakhouse here in the chat. You know, like obviously there's Roadhouse, there's Ruth Chris. You know, got Ruth Chris. You know, that's a good steakhouse.
So basically, guys, when you go back to Ruth Chris and the Outback and the Roadhouse, that hostess, tell her, hey, by the way, how would you like to make $5,000 a month? Because you be great in my business. I love your smile. I love how you took me to my table. Did you know you can make $5,000 a month as an ambassador doing exactly what you just did? Now go and recruit every single hostess that you see, because trust me, their feet are killing them. Their feet are killing them.
Love it. Well, Danny, congratulations to you, my friend. Thank you for being on here today, as you always are. I know we're gonna have fun tomorrow. What time is our call tomorrow?
At 2100 for them.
Yeah, so that's
1500 for me and 12 o'clock for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's 12 noon. So I think I put that on the Chavoyan page. We're going to be translated into French by you. So anyone wants to hop on and check it out, you're going to see an absolutely packed house. People showing up for the Danny Sedwin All Motivation Seminar every week.
I want to say thank you before you go. I want to say thank you again, Todd. Like for real. Like I woke up this morning, I didn't get it. Usually I get a text message, hey, Danny, you're going to be on today. And I'm like, I don't need to receive a text from Todd to be on. I'm like, what is this thing, right? I went for a walk and I'm like, it's Saturday. It's church. It's my church. Saturday is training. Saturday is church. Saturday is church. So that's why I hopped on. Like, I gotta be on. I'm always on, and I appreciate every single time you come on and you teach and you preach and you have all this passion. And you know what? I'm thinking. I'm like, when I grow up, it doesn't matter. When I grow up, it doesn't matter if I'm a 4-star ambassador, 5-star ambassador, executive chairman. I'm gonna come back and always teach and help as many people, because I see people in the industry, and I have to say this before I go. I see a lot of leaders in the industry. They make a lot of money and they disappear, right? They move up, they make a lot of money, and you don't see them because they're like, hey, I put in the work, right? For them, it's like, I put in the work. Now I got the residual income. You don't need to see me. But Todd has been here for the past 4 years that I've been here. He's always been available. It doesn't matter how much holes he got in his backyard. It doesn't matter, right? He's always been here. Like, he doesn't have to. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. He doesn't have to. He did the work. He has the residual income. Like, the money is there. He's good. Like, he extra good. Like, good. But he's still here. On a Saturday morning, he wakes up and does a powerful training like this for an hour. He's always extra good. So he's an example. And you guys need to become the future Todds out there and become an example. When you start making that money, don't forget how you got that money and keep giving back. So Todd, thank you very much, because you are an example of a leader. That's why I do my Zoom every single Sunday. That's why I do as many lives as I do, because I see you doing it. And I'm like, well, that's the example. That's the model. The model is you need to be there no matter what, no matter the success, no matter people see me traveling like 55 days. Oh, look at Danny's lifestyle, but I still put in the work because you're the example. So I appreciate that, my brother.
I appreciate you, Danny. Obviously, again, you're a model yourself, but even on vacation, 9 months. Tearing it up, boss mode. All right, everybody, hey, go out. Make sure you do the do today. You know what the do is: 3 to 5 people per day, 10 to 15 pages of a good book. 10 pages of a good book, 15 minutes of audio. Appreciate every single one of you. Love you guys. Going to be incredible. If you want to hop on tomorrow with Danny, I put that up on the Chavorian page. Till then, God bless. Bye, everybody.